All right, today we're diving into one of the strangest yet most universal human experiences, the totally bizarre way that time seems to bend. Can a single minute really, truly stretch out and feel like an entire hour? Well, let's get into it.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're stuck in a meeting, staring at the clock, and every single tick of that second hand feels like it's taking an eternity. But then, an amazing weekend with your friends, it's over in what feels like a blink. How is that even possible? It's not just a feeling. It's a really deep question about how our brains actually put together our reality.
And here's the crucial thing to understand. Time, as we actually experience it, isn't some rigid, universal constant like a clock on the wall. Nope. Our internal clock is way more mysterious. It's elastic, it's subjective, it's deeply personal. It can warp and bend and totally transform based on what we're doing and, more importantly, how we're feeling.
To really get a grip on this, let's start with the most extreme example out there. Those heart-stopping moments when your life is on the line. I bet you've heard stories like this. Or heck, maybe you've even been there yourself. A car starts to skid, or you drop a glass, and for just a split second, the entire world seems to shift into slow motion. This isn't just some made-up drama for the movies. It is a very real, well-documented phenomenon.
And it's not some rare thing either. Check out this number. A staggering 71%. That's a percentage of people who, after analyzing hundreds of accident reports, recall time itself feeling altered. They remember the event feeling way, way longer than it actually was.
So how on earth does this happen? Well, it's all thanks to our ancient built-in survival kit, the good old fight-or-flight response. The second your brain senses danger, it just unleashes a flood of hormones like adrenaline. Suddenly, your senses are sharper, your mind is hyper-alert, and your brain's processing speed just goes into overdrive. Your internal world is running on fast forward, which makes the outside world feel like it's slowed to a crawl.
Now this is where we need to bust a pretty common myth. Your eyes don't suddenly turn into high-speed slow-motion cameras. That's not what's happening. Instead, your brain is processing information in such incredible detail and at such a high speed that it creates a much, much denser memory of that moment. So later, when you play that memory back, it feels longer because it's just packed with so much more information than a normal memory.
Okay, so we've seen time slow down to a crawl. But what about the flip side? You know, when time just seems to disappear?
We're talking about the flow state. This is when you are so completely absorbed in something, maybe you're playing a video game or you're lost in a great book, that you lose all sense of yourself and, more importantly, all sense of time. Your mind isn't thinking about the past or worrying about the future, it's just 100% in the now. And in that state, hours can literally evaporate, feeling just like minutes. This brings us to another huge mystery that I think a lot of us have wondered about. Why did summers feel endless when you were a kid, but now, as an adult, entire years just seem to fly by in a blur? The answer, it turns out, is all about the relationship between time, memory, and newness.
When you're a child, almost everything is a brand new experience. Each day is packed with firsts, and that creates this really rich, detailed tapestry of memories. Because your brain is constantly recording all this new stuff, that whole period of your life feels super long and full when you look back. But in adulthood, well, life often settles into a routine, right? The same commute, the same tasks, it all starts to blend together. Your brain just isn't recording as much new data, so huge chunks of time get compressed in your memory, making it feel like they passed in an instant.
Okay, so we've established our perception of time is, well, pretty weird and bendy. But what's actually going on under the hood? How does the brain even do this? What's the secret mechanism behind our internal clock? Turns out, our brain has this really sophisticated, multi-part system for telling time. It's not one single clock ticking away in there, it's more like an interaction between a few different processes. Let's break down the leading theory, which is called the internal clock model.
So first up, you've got something called the pacemaker. This is basically a neural process that generates a steady rhythm of pulses, or ticks. Just picture a little metronome inside your head, constantly ticking away. That's the raw, underlying beat of our ability to keep time.
Next, and this part is absolutely crucial, you have an attention switch. Think of it like a gate. When you're actively paying attention to how much time is passing, like in that super boring meeting, that gate is thrown wide open, and every single tick from that pacemaker flows right through to be counted.
So those counted ticks are collected by something called an accumulator, and then that total count gets sent to our memory. This is where our brain kind of becomes a librarian. It compares this new count of ticks to this huge reference library of past experiences to judge how long it's been. It basically says, okay,
This many ticks, that usually means about a minute has passed. And this diagram just lays it all out perfectly. You can see the whole system right here. Up at the top, you've got the pacemaker creating those pulses. They then pass through that switch, the attention gate we talked about, and into the accumulator. That info then goes to memory, where it gets compared with all our past experiences, and finally, that leads to the decision phase, which results in your subjective feeling of how much time has passed. It's a pretty cool system when you see it all together, isn't it?
All right, so now that we have this cool model, how does it explain all the wild experiences we've been talking about, from slow-motion accidents to those fast-flying weekends?
Well, it's all about how our internal state is constantly tuning this clock. Intense emotions like fear or anxiety can literally speed up the pacemaker. It starts generating more ticks per second. So you end up overestimating how long something took, and that's your slow motion feeling. The neurotransmitter dopamine, which is tied to motivation, also seems to speed up that pacemaker. But in that state of flow, your attention is completely directed away from the timekeeping switch. The gate closes, very few ticks get counted, and so time just seems to fly by.
So I think the biggest, most important takeaway here is this. Your experience of time is not a passive recording of reality. It's not like a camera. It is an active, moment-by-moment construction, shaped by your emotions, your focus, your memories, and even your brain chemistry. And that leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. If time is a construction of our own minds, does that mean we can learn to change it? You know, by seeking out new experiences to slow down the years, or by cultivating that flow state to make difficult tasks just fly by, could we actually become the architects of our own time?